class, we're going to continue to work on our perspective project. Fourth, fifth, and sixth grade all have a different kind of perspective project. And looking at it, fourth and sixth grade will continue to work on their perspective project next week as well. So fourth and sixth grade will have 3 weeks for their perspective project, and fifth grade will be finishing. You'll be finishing your project today or with this video, and so next week we'll have a new project for fifth grade. Okay, and as far as turning in your work, you'll turn in your work during your pod time in class. So when you meet for class, there should be a big art folder, and you'll find the art folder and you'll just put your project in that folder. If there's new art supplies, like new paper or something like that, it will be either in the folder, like if I have new paper, it'll be in the folder, like. And if there's some kind of other art supply, like a paint or something like that, it'll probably be in a box. But I don't have anything planned that complicated yet, so don't worry about that. But turn in your work. When you turn in your work, sometimes your pod meets like after you are, like maybe you didn't get the video yet, like maybe you meet on Monday or something like that. I think you meet on Tuesday. But if you miss it, if you're a week behind in turning in your artwork, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Just turn in your work as soon as you can. If you're a week off, don't worry about it. Just turn it in next week. I'm not going to collect them all right away. I might wait an extra week anyways, just because sometimes there's delays and things like that. So don't worry, just finish your project. When you finish it, you'll turn it into that art folder. You can also turn it into the office. I have a folder in the office. It's better to turn in your work in your homeroom, your classroom, during pod time. But if for some reason a parent needs to drop off your artwork to the office, like maybe they're going to the office for some other reason, they can do that. There's a folder there they can turn it into. It's better to turn it into your classroom though. It's just more convenient, but it's up to you. So that'll be it. So yeah. So we're working on art. There'll be a new video every Tuesday. So like I said earlier, fourth and sixth grade will have a third video for perspective next Tuesday. Fifth grade next Tuesday will have a new project, a new art project to work on. Okay. So now it's time for Godzilla of the week. I don't know if you were able to see the results for your class, but I added fourth, fifth, and sixth grade classes together. And so here's the votes. Mechagodzilla received 10 total votes. Burning Godzilla received 27 total votes. Destroya, only 4 votes. And Jet Jaguar was 11 votes. So Burning Godzilla is the winner. So I'm going to show you Burning Godzilla. And he's here. I'll just show him to you. Here he is. Okay, so this is Burning Godzilla. Now you probably are thinking like, is he going to be on fire? No, he's not on fire. But in the movie, notice how he has all these orange parts. What happens is in the Godzilla movies, Godzilla is nuclear powered. He's kind of like a result of nuclear experimentation. And so he's like atomic powered with a lot of energy. And so what's happening in this movie, Godzilla is actually having a nuclear meltdown inside his body. Like he's kind of dying. Like he's kind of burning up. And so the model doesn't glow, but in the movie he's all kind of glowing, and he's like inside he's having a nuclear meltdown, and it's kind of cool. And so that's why he's called Burning Godzilla, because he's having a nuclear meltdown. And it's a scary idea, but it's a pretty cool movie. And in this movie he fights Destroyer. In America it's called Destroyer. I think in Japan it's called Destroya. So it's Godzilla versus Destroyer. You could probably rent it on Amazon if you wanted, but it's pretty cool. The music's really good too. So anyways, this Burning Godzilla, I can close his mouth. Sometimes I glue these in place. I actually based my Godzilla head off this model. So I used this as a reference. So when I made that giant Godzilla head, I used this model. Maybe it looks familiar. I don't know. That's pretty cool. And then here he is in comparison to Space Godzilla. So it's like, rah. So I can have them face off. Sometimes on my shelf, they're face. I can't do this. Sometimes they're facing off against each other, but anyways, that's a Godzilla of the week. So I'll have a new survey that you can vote for. I'll have some different choices in there, and you can vote for the next Godzilla of the week, and I'll show you on next Tuesday. In the meantime, let's get started with our art class. Okay, sixth graders, this is the part of the video where we talk about we keep working on our project. So we're gonna keep drawing our perspective city. This is the finished city. Maybe you can add a little more detail if you want, but this is a finished example of the city. Notice that some of the stuff is outlined in black. We'll talk about that. But this is where we left off last time. So we just drew our horizon line, our vanishing point. We drew our flat front shapes, and then we drew some perspectives and back edges. Now we still need to draw some smaller buildings down here. So we're going to do that first. Then we're going to draw some detail. And then if we have time, and I think we will, we'll talk about using markers to kind of outline it. Basically, you're going to use a Sharpie and an ultra fine point Sharpie or any kind of pen or ballpoint pen even to trace stuff. Okay, so let's draw some more buildings here. First, let's see. So we drew our outer buildings. I want to draw some buildings in the middle here. Okay, so the first step is to draw, and there's going to be a lot of lines in here. Oh my goodness. The first step, though, is to draw the flat front side. So here's the flat front side. It's just a rectangle. The problem is some of the rectangles, the flat rectangle, will be behind our other buildings. So you'll only see part of the rectangle. Well, that's no big deal. That makes it kind of easier, right? So watch. I'm going to draw, let's see. I want this to be below the horizon line. Okay, so it's about an, let's see. So straight line here. Notice that it's about an inch below the horizon line because I want to see the top of it. You can see the top of it here. Anything below the horizon line, you see the top of the building. If a building is above the horizon line, like this one, you don't see the top of it. It's like it goes the other way. It's tilted. It's not tilted, but the view is tilted, I guess, or skewed. Okay, anyways, I got a straight line here. And then this is going to go straight down. So let's see, that's easy. Ugh. Okay, there you go. So you can imagine this is like it's like a rectangle behind these buildings. So it's just a horizontal line straight across and then straight down. It's small. It's small. Okay, great. Now, from this shape, we're going to draw a perspective line from this corner back to the vanishing point. So I'm going to go corner here. I want to line up my ruler on this corner and this vanishing point, the vanishing point. And I'm not going to draw my line, let's see, I'm not going to draw it all the way. I'm going to stop about, I don't know, about here. That's like a long building. I don't want to make it that long. So there it is. And then from this corner, I'm going to go straight down. Straight down a vertical line. Kind of like how these are vertical, but anyways, straight down. Straight down. So you can kind of see the perspective. It looks like a side of a building going into perspective. It goes straight down there. We got different lines. We have these vertical lines. The vertical lines, let's see here. Okay, autofocus. Vertical lines are the sides of the building, and then we got these perspective lines for the top. Okay, now from here we need to go across. And this line, this top line, is parallel to the front edge. That front edge should be straight across. It's a horizontal line. So what I do is I move my ruler here. Should start with an easier one. Until I get to that corner, right? So I get to this corner. And you want your ruler to be the same angle as this edge, because they're parallel. They don't cross. From that corner, you're going to draw all the way. Well, you're actually going to stop. You're going to stop right about here. Not all the way. And then from this corner, I'm going to draw a line. So from the vanishing point, and it's going to connect there. So I line up my ruler to that corner where I stopped drawing. I didn't draw all the way. Stopped here. Ruler edge touches here and it touches my vanishing point. And then from this, it's going to be a slightly, kind of goes a slightly different angle. Now the reason why this was tricky, I don't want to go into details. Maybe I'll talk about it in a different building. But what happens is we don't see all of the buildings, so we were kind of constructing these lines from the points we were making, and we were kind of making them on the fly, which is okay if you have like a thorough knowledge of perspective like myself. But like when you're doing it, it might not have made much sense. But you can imagine, I'll sketch it. You can imagine that this corner, don't draw this, don't do this part, this is for fun. You can imagine that this line would have connected here, and then this would have gone straight down. But we didn't draw this part of the building. So like if we did this, if we didn't have to erase all these lines, we would have drawn this big rectangle all the way. And then from this corner, I would have drawn a line, and this corner drawn a line back. And then we would have had that back edge. So that might have made more sense, but we only drew a little bit of it because a lot of it was obscured or hidden. It was hidden behind this building. So we didn't see it. So that made it a little trickier to do, but hopefully you got it, and hopefully it looks beautiful. Let's do a more straightforward one. This time we have some spacing here. Let's draw a full rectangle. Now remember, we want to try to, let's see. Let's do it like this. I'm going to do it a little different than this one. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to draw my rectangle like this. I'll draw it first and then I'll show you. So you're going to draw a rectangle. Okay, so a rectangle. But where is my rectangle in relation to my vanishing point? Here's my vanishing point. This edge is beyond the vanishing point, and so is this one. So you could almost say that this rectangle is centered. It's not complete, it's kind of centered. It's centered on that vanishing point. And you're like, well, why is that a big deal, Mr. Smith? I'll show you, but you want your rectangle, and make your rectangle, it's almost the same size. I should have made it a little lower. It's okay. I could have made this a little lower than this one. Like, I'm going to do it. If you did yours like this, it's okay. I'm going to make mine a little lower. This is like, okay, there it is. So it's a little lower than this building, and you're like, what's the big deal about that? Well, it's just a little bit of variety, just variety. But I mean, technically it's accurate if it's that same height. Okay, big deal. Now the reason why it's, and this is just a flat rectangle. Flat meaning no perspective. It's just a straight ahead rectangle. There it is. Now from this corner, I'm going to draw a line back to the vanishing point. I'm not going to go all the way. I'm going to kind of stop. And then from this corner, I'm going to go back to the vanishing point. And this is what happens. I'm not going to go all the way, but I'm going like that. This is what happens when you have an object centered on the vanishing point, but it's like wider than the vanishing point. It kind of goes in. It converges basically, right? We kind of talked about that. Like these are, sometimes they call these convergence lines. They converge, you know. I think the proper definition of an orthogonal, I think the proper definition of an orthogonal is like parallel lines that recede and meet into the, it's a real complicated, it's like a college word, right? But like they're lines that meet in the distance, right? Okay. Anyways, but there's only one side, there's a top. Okay. Now I want to determine the back distance, right? So here's my line. I make my ruler, I line it up with that top edge, then I move my ruler. And how far back do you want to move it? It's up to you. You don't want to make it go too far back because it might look weird. I don't know, this is about 1.5 inches. It looks pretty good. There. If I wanted a longer building, like I could have gone further up and made my line here, but like here. This feels more like a regular building. Looks good. Okay, then I could erase these lines if I want. All right, looks good. Then let's see. I want to fit a taller building, but not tall as this one. Okay, so let's see, and you can kind of see it right here. But again, we start with a rectangle. So let's see, here I go. I'm just going to draw it and then I'll show it to you. Not all the way tall, but you want it to be above the horizon line. So it's going to go, okay, and then I'm going to go straight down. So it's just another rectangle. When you're drawing buildings, there's not really a right or wrong way. But if you want your buildings to look more interesting, you want the lines, like the edges of the building, not to like perfectly meet up. Like, could you imagine how weird it would be if this edge of this building kind of connected with that line? It would be kind of confusing. That's why I, on purpose, I kind of left some space here. Like, I didn't make it perfectly line up. And then like this one, it's almost as tall as this building, so I made it a little shorter so that it didn't look confusing. And it adds a little bit of variety. So just keep that in mind. Like this line almost connects, like this line almost connects with this line. So maybe I could have moved that over, but it's okay. Anyways, I just have a rectangle here. It's not as tall as this building. It's right here. Okay. Now, visible corner. Here's my visible corner. It's going to go back to the vanishing point. So I'm going to position my ruler right there, and it's on the vanishing point and on that corner. I'm not going to go all the way back. I'm just going to go part of the way. Then I need to determine the distance of that building, right? So again, here's where you can kind of think. This is where you kind of have a choice. Here you can kind of see I have a little bit of space. Oh, but notice how I was careful not to connect to that line right there. It's probably, I can't see that, Mr. Smith. That's a tiny little thing on my screen, I know. So I want to be careful. Like, I don't want to line it up perfectly with this line. That would be confusing. So like I can make it go a little before, which probably will work best. Or I could go a little after, but that makes it look like a humongous building, right? It's like so big. But you could do that, but you just don't want it to connect with this line. I'm going to make it go before that line. Now remember, this line is parallel to this line, meaning it doesn't cross. Here's how I do it. I've shown you a million times already. Position your ruler on this edge. You move it over till you get about the right distance you want. Then, I want a little more. Then you go straight down. Okay. Good to go. Now, finally, let's see. Let's put like a just a small, like a housing building or an apartment down here, and it's just going to be a straight line. It's just going to be like, I'm going to go line here. Straight line meaning horizontal. It's a horizontal line, right? It's like a smaller, like maybe they're smaller apartment buildings. Now the question is, you're like, Mr. Smith, do you see the top of this? Yeah, but you don't see the perspective. You can imagine the perspective is behind these buildings. So you could probably just draw another line kind of like this. on top of it. It doesn't look super perspective-y. That's a word, by the way. I'm just kidding. But it doesn't look like very much perspective, but that's kind of the top of this building. You can imagine the perspective would be over here, like behind this building, but we don't have to worry about it. Okay. Finally, we have a little bit of space here. So it looks like I have a little bit of a building here. So let's do it. So I'm going to do, it looks like I somehow fit two of them in there. So let's see, this is going to be a sliver rectangle. So it's like, it's coming out a little bit, then it's going to go straight down. Keep bumping my camera. Okay. This is like a little bit of a building we can see on the side, and then but we can see a little bit of the top. And why do we see a little bit of the top? Because it is below the horizon line. You see the top if it's below the horizon line. Okay. It's just going to be a little bit of a corner. Ugh. So visible corner, vanishing point, and then I'm going to stop at this building. Right? So it's right there. It may not seem like a big deal, but it definitely looks cool. It looks like a little bit of another building is kind of peeking around the corner there. I even have another one. So what I do is I draw a line here. This time, let's imagine, let's draw it into the building. We're going to erase this later, but that's going to be our the corner of that building. We're going to erase the corner later, but I want you to know that the corner's there. We'll draw that line, and then we'll erase the extra here. So this is like, it's this thing. It's kind of like, it's another small building. You only see a little bit of it. So here I go. I'm going to go. So I'm going to this corner, the corner that it's going to be behind this building, but that's okay. Okay, gotta hold my ruler. And then I'm going to draw my line, but I'm only going to draw it, well, I'll draw all of it. Look what I did. I kind of stopped here because I knew there was a building here. This is the corner that's behind this building. But this building is in front of this building. So I need to erase this. I need to erase this. Or you can be creative, actually. This is where you have a choice. Maybe you're thinking, but Mr. Smith, if I draw this line down, this edge, and erase this line, that'll make this building in front of this building. Can I do that? You can, actually. I don't care. Yeah, actually, that might be kind of cool. So you have a choice. You can erase this part, and that will make this building behind this building. Or I'm actually going to do it. You can draw from this corner, you can draw straight down. It has to be a vertical line straight down. You can draw that straight down, and then you can erase this line. I'll show you. When you erase, hold your paper so that it doesn't crinkle. It could crinkle. So just hold your paper and then carefully erase. I gotta erase this little part. There, so that looks kind of cool. So now it looks like this building is now in front of that building. Pretty cool. Okay, let's see, how much time do we have? 13 minutes. Okay. You can kind of see that I drew a skinny building in here, but I kind of don't have enough space here. So maybe I will, I don't know. I don't have enough room to draw that skinny little building. I'm just going to draw part of a building, kind of like this again. And let's see, I want it to be a little bit above the horizon line. So it's going to be like, or maybe not here. So I'm gonna go below the horizon line. So it's right here, and it's right straight across. So I've got straight across and down. Don't forget, you can pause the video if I'm going too fast. You can pause it, you can draw it, and then unpause it, right? So just like these buildings, it's gonna have a little bit of a sliver of a top of the building. So again, I line up my ruler to the vanishing point, and I go to this corner, oh gosh, can't even see it, this corner, and I'm just going to draw, oh gosh, my ruler moved, okay, and then I'm going to draw this line. Wow, you can barely see that. It's like a little sliver. But that's okay. It looks good. Okay, so we've drawn a decent amount of buildings. If you want, you can try to draw another building in here. Or maybe you can draw one here. With what you've learned, if you want to add a building or two, go for it, but you don't have to. I'm going to start erasing some of the stuff. I recommend you want to erase your extra lines. I recommend, this is the best eraser. I'm not sending an eraser home. This is like a Pentel. You can get these anywhere. Target. These work good. You can also use like white. It's like a white, I don't know, it's a different kind of eraser material. It works pretty good. And like I have it on this, I don't even know what kind of, it's some kind of fancy, is it going to tell me? Yeah, it's not going to tell me. The high polymer is what it says it is. Anyways, these work good. The pink erasers, they don't work as well. If you're going to use a pink eraser, I recommend this. You get a scratch piece of paper and kind of erase off all the gunk. Like you kind of erase the gunk off the top of that eraser, and that might, I even go on the edges, like I go on around the edge a little bit, and I kind of erase off all that gunk so it's a little cleaner. But these don't work as well, but you can do it if that's all you got at home. You can use these erasers. Sometimes you might have like a pink eraser this big like this. That'll work. But these work the best. You can get them anywhere. They're just like a little white eraser. It's Pentel. I don't know. I'm not sending them home, so you have to find a good eraser at home. Anyways, we want to erase this stuff. I'm going to erase, keep your horizon line in the middle, but you can erase it if it crosses through your building. Like I'm going to erase that. Oh, shoot. I should have kept it there, my horizon, because that's my horizon, right? But when it cuts through your building, you can erase it, right? And then you can, I'm not going to totally make this, you can erase your perspective guidelines. I'm not going to make it super perfectly neat, okay? But it's pretty good. Now, let's do some details. We got some time for some details. You don't have to go super crazy, but let me give you some tips. In fact, I'll just tell you, we can do these simple details and I'll show you. And then if you want to add more details, go for it. But we can do these simple details. These look pretty complicated, but they're actually pretty simple. I basically just divided like my, I got like 1 inch, like every inch I have a horizontal line. So that's easy to do. On this one looks really detailed. It's not. It's like every ½ inch. So between every inch, there's like a ½ inch mark. It's like the big long line in the middle between an inch and the next inch. That's your ½ inch mark. So I just did ½ inch, and it makes it look really detailed. So I'm going to do it real quick. Let's see. I'm going to go. So I got 1 inch. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, this is my building. So I'm going to go 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch, 5 inch, 6 inch, 7 inch, 8 inch, 9 inches kind of on the bottom. I'm going to do the same for this one too. So again, this is like this building. So again, I'm going to go 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, ideally, you would also do it on this edge, like this side as well. I would go like 1, 2, 3. That way you can kind of line up both of those marks and do it. I'm just going to do it real fast though, because we're running out of time. So at this inch mark, I'm going to go line, line. I'm going to do this one too. So I got 2 sets of lines, right? So I got one here. Like, Mr. Smith, you're going too fast. Oh, it's fine. You got it. Like, no, I don't. You have a parent help you. Now remember, this looks pretty good because I'm being careful, but it would have been more accurate if I measured an inch here, 2 inch, 3 inch. Then I can line up both my marks and it'd be even straighter. But I think I'm being super careful and it looks pretty good. Okay. Well, that was easy. Aha. But we can do some perspective on the side of the building. So the front of the building is flat. They kind of call it sometimes they call it an elevation, or it's like an orthographic view. It's a flat view, the front, just the front. But the side is in perspective. Now this one doesn't have a lot of perspective. It'll have a lot of perspective down here, but this one will also have some interesting perspective. So let's let's add perspective on the sides of our building. So I'm going to turn my paper just so you can see it. So here's my building here. From this point, I'm going to line up my... So you can kind of imagine this is like a seam or a corner of this building, even though it's on the inside. And I'm going to position from this point back to the vanishing point, and I'm going to draw my line. But I'm going to stop at the edge of the building. So watch, I'm going to go... I'm going to make the noise too. Now it's barely at an angle. Why? Because it's very close to the horizon line. But the further I go down, the more the line is going to be at an angle. So watch. Now I go to the next one. So here's the next one. I line up my corner back to the vanishing point. I'm going to draw it. Okay. Then I'm going to go to this one. Line back to the vanishing point. But I'm stopping. So I'm going from this corner back to the vanishing point, but then I stop at the edge of my building because I don't need the extra line. I'd have to erase it, right? So here we go. Line. Notice how the lines are getting more angled as it goes down away from that vanishing point. There's more distortion, which is okay, but it looks kind of weird, but there it is. You're like, oh, that's awesome. It is awesome because it's perspective, and perspective is awesome. I'm going to do the same thing on this one real quick. Same thing. From every corner, oh, maybe I can just do it like this. Every corner, back to the vanishing. No, I'm going to turn my paper. But I'm going to draw that line. I'm going to stop at the edge of the building, and it looks pretty neat. I'm going to turn my paper, though, because it'll be easier. You may want to do that, too. So I go, let me make this as straight as possible. Okay. Okay. This one was like right on the horizon line. That's not good, but it's okay. I mean, it's accurate. It just looks weird. So again, from every corner, I line up my ruler to the vanishing point and to this corner, and I draw my line. But I stop at the edge of the building. And I'm going to draw this one. Right? And then now it's getting pretty funky here. This is why I don't do this one. And then there's like an inch here too. Okay. Now, this looks good, but I'm running into a problem. Let's look at my problem. This is okay. But you're like, Mr. Smith, you ran out of lines to go back, and you have this big weird empty spot, and that looks weird. That is a problem. That is a problem. So what can you do? You don't have to do anything. You can just leave it like this. This is totally fine. But but let's say it bothers you. If it bothers you, then that's good. You're attention to detail student, right? It's okay. What you could do is you can imagine, because see, I ran out of these lines. You can imagine these points go far below out of my picture plane, right? So like I have another inch here, another inch here, another inch here, and at these inch marks, like those lines go back to the vanishing point. The problem is I ran out of paper, so I can't draw them. Well, it doesn't mean you can't imagine them. For instance, watch. I have another piece of paper under here. You don't have to do this. This is optional. This is optional. I can imagine another inch mark here, another inch mark here, and another inch mark here on a paper underneath. Now this is tricky. You got to hold your paper just right. And then from this point, I'm going to draw, but I'm only going to draw it on my paper, right? But you could, well, I'll draw it here. You can imagine. So it's like, oh yeah, like it continues there. And then on this one, oh, it looks like, okay. So here's my other one. Oh, looks like I need my third one after all. So here's my third one. So I needed the length with these inch marks. These are 1 inch each, and I needed to go on a paper underneath. Remember, this part's optional. You don't have, like, you could have stopped. You could have stopped there. That's okay. But if it bothers you, and you're like, I want to do it like that, go for it. Like, that's all good. We're running out of time here. Let's see, how much time? We're almost out of time. So I'm just going to show you a couple more things, and then, boy, do we talk about this for another week? Yeah, we're going to talk about more details next week. So for today, that's it. We're going to spend a third week on this. I was thinking, we'll rush through and you just outline stuff. No, no, no. What we'll do is we need a little more time on this because we want our city to be as awesome as possible. So we are going to have a third week. I just didn't have enough time to. I want to show you everything properly. We're going to outline stuff. One thing to keep in mind, though, for next week. So we're going to do one. We're going to do a third week on this. 3 weeks. Okay. I'm not going to send these home, at least for this project. But if you want to have a Sharpie at home, a Sharpie or an ultra fine point Sharpie, right? Let's see. Ultra fine point Sharpie and a regular Sharpie. You don't need these, but if you have them, they will work great. Next week, we're going to talk about, we're going to use the regular Sharpie to go around the outer edge of the building. But a thinner Sharpie or another marker, like a thin marker, will trace the we'll trace the details. Next week, I'll talk about some of these other details. And I'll talk about some extra stuff since we'll have a little more time. And we'll make this look real nice and as neat as possible. We'll talk about dividing and we'll do some more stuff. So we stopped here, but next week we'll talk about more detail. One more thing, don't forget to put your name on the back of your paper. So you're going to flip your paper over. You're going to put your name on your paper. Make it like this size, right? Don't make it really big. Don't make it really tiny so I can't, about the size so I can read your name. And then if you want, this is optional, but if let's say you're in Mrs. Vanderkirk's class, you can just do like a V and circle it. That way I know you're in Vanderkirk, or if you're in Woodhead, you could do like a W and circle it. And that helps me organize all my papers. That's optional, but you have to have your name on your paper. Anyways, that's it. So we'll talk about this next week. See if you can find a Sharpie or an ultra fine point Sharpie at home. If not, you can use different markers. Like here I got a Crayola, like this will work. A black Crayola marker or any kind of nice black marker will be fine for this. Because I'm not going to send these home. I'm hoping you around the house you can find some of these supplies to help you. If you have different size black markers, awesome. But not too thick, but you can get like, they sell fancy ones like art markers. They're microns, but you don't need to buy those. Any kind of decent marker will work. If you don't have markers, you can use your pencil and just trace your lines and make them darker. But markers are more fun. They look a little nicer. But that's it. So we will finish this next week. So we'll have a third week on this city. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.